And so Al-As was one of those people who gave Umar ibn al-Khattab protection in early Islam. Now the hadith I wanted to mention is an interesting hadith, and also narrated from Abdullah ibn Umar, that Abdullah ibn Umar, the son of Umar, is saying, I never heard my father say, I think, except that whatever he thought turned out to be true. So his presumptions are always true. And one time Umar was sitting when a handsome man walked by. And Umar said, either I am wrong, or this person is still upon the religion of his ancestors, or he was the sorcerer for his people. In other words, this is when he's Khalifa and a Muslim passes by. And Umar radiallahu anh senses something is wrong with this man. And goes, either this man is actually still a pagan, or the only other explanation, he was a magician or a fortune teller. I should say a fortune teller. So call this man to me. So the man comes and he is asked about the reality. And the man is insulted. And he said, I have never seen how, in my life, how a Muslim is being accused. You're accusing me of something. And Umar said, I command you to tell me the entire story. So the man said, very well, I used to be their fortune teller in the days of Jahiliyyah. So it came out. Because it's embarrassing now that you're a Muslim to tell the people that you're a fortune teller. So Umar somehow knew. And this is the concept of firasa. I talked about it a little bit in the seerah sometimes. Firasa means intuition. Firasa means you have an instinct that something is just beyond what it appears to be. And it is narrated that Umar ibn Khattab himself said, this is not a hadith, some people say hadith, it's not a hadith. اتقوا فراسة المؤمن فإن فراسة المؤمن حق. This is not a hadith. It is a statement from Umar. Fear the premonition or the intuition of a mu'min, because the intuition of a mu'min always tells you the truth. So Umar has an intuition, this guy something is wrong with him. Either he's still a pagan, or he was a fortune teller. And the fortune tellers had connections with the jinns. So it turns out he was a fortune teller. So Umar says to him, tell me, what was the most amazing or the most strange thing your jinni ever said to you in the days of Jahiliyyah? So the fortune teller says that one time when I was in the suq, my jinniya came to me all terrified and said, now the jinn speak in very difficult language. The jinn have a language, whenever they speak in our language even, it's not the same. It's a very harsh, and the words they use are different. And so what he says in Arabic sounds very poetic. In English is almost untranslatable. ألم ترى الجن وإبلاسها ويأسها من بعد إنكاسها ولحوقها بالقلاس وأحلاسها. Who can translate amongst the Arabs? ألم ترى الجن وإبلاسها ويأسها من بعد إنكاسها وَلُحُوقَهَا بِالْقَلَاسِ وَأَحْلَاسِهَا. Anyone? Okay, so the gist of it in one word, the jinn are desperate and scared. That's really what it is. Okay? So the jinn are now terrified. And the sorcerer basically saying, so the jinni told me that something different had happened in the world. And this was the most amazing thing in my career as a fortune teller, that the jinni itself was terrified, rather than the other way around. So Umar ibn Khattab said, you have spoken the truth. Something happened with me as well in that time frame. The same time frame, something happened with me. This is the story that we need to go. That's what we'll go all of this detail, okay? One time when I was sleeping in front of one of the idols, so he's sleeping in front of the Kaaba, there was the idol, when a man came and slaughtered an animal, a cow or a goat in front of the idol, and the idol shrieked a sound I have never heard in my life. So of course the idol is not shrieking, the jinni is shrieking inside the idol. Okay, the idol doesn't speak, but the jinni inside it speak. I have never heard a more terrifying sound. Shriek. And it shrieked. Who's going to translate this now? Ya jalih amrun najih rajulun fasih. Ya jalih amrun najih rajulun fasih. In other words, oh so-and-so who is in front of me, a new matter has come, a new thing has come, an eloquent man has appeared. And the man is saying, La ilaha illa anta. And Umar ibn Khattab is saying, it was only a matter of time, it was only a matter of time before we heard there is a Nabi amongst us after this incident. Okay, now this hadith is in Bukhari, and the point of the hadith is pretty obvious, and that is that Umar ibn al-Khattab in his pre-Islamic days is saying, you know, I too have an interesting story to tell you, that I heard the idol, and it wasn't the idol, of course, it was the jinni of the idol say that a new thing has happened, an amazing occurrence has occurred, an eloquent man is come, and he is preaching La ilaha illallah. And he goes, right after this, we began to hear there is a Nabi sent to us. And that is, of course, the coming of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So these are premonitions, of course, of the acceptance of Islam. As for his actual conversion story, then two stories are narrated. Two stories are narrated about the actual conversion of Umar ibn al-Khattab, and both of them are with broken chains. Both of them are with broken chains. The first of them is in the first person, and I'll quote you directly from Ibn Hisham or Ibn Ishaq as well, volume 1, page 346. So this is directly from Ibn Hisham, who says from Ibn Ishaq, obviously, that someone narrated to me basically that Islam of Umar was in this manner. So he gives the story of the Islam of Umar. That Umar narrated his Islam. That Umar said that I was very far from Islam, and I was a person who used to drink wine in Jahiliyyah. وَكُنْتُ صَاحِبَ خَمْرٍ فِي الْجَاهِلِيَّةِ. This is Umar narrating. I used to drink wine in Jahiliyyah, and I would love it and drink it all the time. And I would have a group of men from the Quraysh that I would gather with, because that's what they do. Right, the young men, that's what they do. They waste their time and they drink, and these days they're smoking their whatever joints or whatever. That's what men do. Unfortunately, most people, they don't have that. So Umar is doing this as well. And we used to do it in the house of so-and-so. He mentions the name. So one evening I left my house and I went to the house of so-and-so, but I couldn't find them there. So I said, let me go to the one who sells the wine, the khammar. I'll go and get it from him. And there was one man in Mecca primarily who was the one who was making the wine and selling it. So I went there, and I could not find him either. He was not there in his house, whatever he was not there. So I said, okay, in this case, let me then go to the Kaaba and do tawaf. Don't ask me why from Khammar to tawaf. Yani, this is the ways of Jahiliyyah, okay?